Well, hello everybody, it's Dr. Drake 63 here again today, and today we're going to do an unboxing, unpacking, and tabletop review and overview of a firearm that I've had my eyes on since about the time they came out back in 2011, 2012 time frame. And it's not the type of firearm you're used to seeing from me. It's not a self-defense per se firearm. It's not a military style firearm, tactical style firearms, not big bore. It's not a hunting rifle for big game or anything like that. What we're going to look at today is the Ruger 1022 takedown model. And like I said, I've been looking at this particular rifle going back to around the time they came out. And I already had a Ruger 1022 sitting in my gun safe and didn't really see a need for a couple of them. And around about that time, 2012, and the couple of years that ensued, 22 long rifle became scarce as all get out and darn near impossible to get without paying an arm and a leg, which I refused to do for a round like that. So put it off. Other things became more important, room in the gun safe, so forth and so on. And somewhere along the line, involved with a trade or something along the line, I parted ways with my Ruger 1022, knowing that I could always get another one. And I knew that if I ever did, it would be the takedown model. I like the concept. I've seen nothing but good things about it. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk a little bit about philosophy of use. And I'm going to tell you what I think about the concept of a survival gun in 22 long rifles. So very, very excited to pick this up and look forward to sharing it with you. Okay, well, the first thing we're going to notice is it comes in this nice little handy backpack, and I think the original ones were a black looking backpack. This is tan, so it is what it is. But what you get in this, of course, the lock, which I've never seen anybody use. Here you see a Weaver style rail mount to go on the top. And in addition to that, you've got a strap that you can use to carry this bag. Also has mole style attachments if you want to use those kind of particular attachments to add to the size of this bag. As you can see, it's not very big at all, and that's one reason we like it for a takedown model. But as you open this up, of course, you have your user instruction manual, but who the heck would ever want to read one of those, right? And then we get into the meat of it. You have your receiver and your buttstock portion, as well as your locking mechanism. Okay, I showed you the Weaver style mount, and that simply goes right on top here. It's pre-drilled, and as you can see, that goes right on top for mounting a scope, some kind of optic, whatever you want. But as you can see, this is Ruger, and it's, you know, your basic synthetic stock. I think they make a good one. I'm not going to leave this decal on, obviously, but for purposes of unboxing video, what the heck, right? So you have that piece. The other piece, which is, apparently they leave you room for 2 barrels, or maybe that other one's for a scope, but your other piece is your barrel itself. And again, nice, in case you forget who made this, it is made by Ruger, and off she comes. So basically, what do we have going on here? Well, it's as simple as this. I'm going to show you how quick this goes together. Okay. This is a little bit of a spring-loaded piece here. Okay. So this simply fits in right here. and then you rotate, and you're locked in place. Now what you need to do next then is there is a barrel nut. You can hear that indexing over until it tightens down, and then you're good to go. You flip up your sight, and voila, you're ready to go. Standard Ruger 10/22, I think they call it a BX1 magazine, holds 10 rounds. And as you can see, if you want to lock this open, there is a piece with which to do that. Your hold open mechanism, which is right here. You depress that when you pull back, okay? And when you want to let your slide go forward, but this is what you're looking at, and you're ready to go, okay? You are now officially ready to go. And I know for me, I will shoot this with iron sights. I don't even believe I'm going to mount the Weaver style rail on top of this, because I'm not going to put a scope on something like this. But that's about how easy it goes together. And in terms of taking it apart, again, you loosen this barrel nut, you flip it over, you want to hold back, and at the same time push forward on this, which is spring loaded, and boom, just like that, we've taken this apart. When it comes to having the ultimate popular, easy to get, easy to use, easy to accessorize 22, I believe that Ruger just simply nailed it when they invented the 10/22. Parts are available, especially things such as magazines and so forth are available pretty much at every gun store you're going to go to. It's very easy to clean. It's not a big deal at all. Most guys, if you run a bore snake down through it after shooting it, that's going to be plenty, maybe a couple drops of lube in the action every once in a while. But besides that, that's all you need. Now, this particular one features an 18.5-inch stainless steel barrel, and the sight is a metal sight, a metallic sight with a brass bead up front, which is easy to acquire. More on that in a minute. But overall, it's just your basic, simplistic design. Like I mentioned, blowback operated. Yes, you can get more accurate 22s in a bolt action variety. A, they cost more, and B, parts, accessorization, things of that nature, are a lot harder to do. But yeah, if you're looking to target shoot a 22 long rifle, probably don't want the 10/22, although I've always found them to be extremely accurate and dependable. Just taking a look at the other side here, like I said, I think they've done a good job on the synthetic stock. You can see here, that's the magazine release. You can see the safety there, which is also easy to work, and then there I'm showing you the bolt catch release. So these controls are fairly intuitive. You see the safety there, easy to reach, and all of it is easy to work. Looking at the BX1 magazine here, you can usually get these somewhere between $16 and $20, and as I mentioned, available everywhere. There are 25 round magazines available for this as well. I don't see a need for that in the role that I'm going to use this, but some guys, especially guys that don't otherwise have a way to have a tactical looking rifle, love sticking those magazines in there. So again, another look at the pre-drilled holes on top of the receiver for putting the supplied Weaver mount, or if you prefer to get one that's a little bit better quality. Taking a look at these sights, as I mentioned, this just flips up and down, and very positive. Very intuitive. Every one of the Rugers that I've shot out of the box is sighted in correctly, and so not a lot of adjustments needed. And as I mentioned, real easy to flip this down and up. It locks into place very well. I've been told that this will hold its zero very well with optics or sights after taking it down and putting it back up. Now, let's talk a little bit about the idea of a survival rifle in 22, okay? This is 22 caliber rifle. This is a 22 caliber rifle as well. Okay. However, there's vast differences between these two. This is 22 long rifle. This is 22 as in 223 with a vastly larger cartridge and a heavier projectile, you name it. Currently, this is loaded with 75 grain open tip, basically 3,000 feet per second coming out of this barrel. This shoots 36 grain hollow point, leaving the barrel probably somewhere around 800, 900 feet per second. So two different worlds. So when people talk about a survival gun, they oftentimes are talking about the 22 caliber. And what you hear a lot, another gun that's kind of a backpack style gun like this is the AR-7, which is right now Henry makes those, and that's a Eugene Stoner design. Eugene Stoner's the guy that basically invented this guy back in the early 60s. This has come a long way, but it's the same operating mechanism. The parts are basically the same. Not a lot's changed other than the accessories, to be honest with you. Okay. But the AR-7 is known to not be a very accurate rifle. It's not something you want to shoot a lot. It's there in case of an emergency, and it folds in its own buttstock and all that kind of stuff. When people talk about this being a survival type rifle, I guess I have to scratch my head a bit. And the reason is while 22 caliber can be used for self-defense, it is definitely not recommended in my world as a self-defense round by any stretch. Better than throwing a rock, yeah. 22 is certainly something that we know is lethal, without a question about it. In fact, it's known amongst intelligence community type assassins and mob world type figures to be very popular for killing people. And the reason for that is because it doesn't make a loud noise, it doesn't make a big mess, and so forth and so on. So at point blank or close range, certainly something like this is something that is going to take a human life. And I've seen all the people talking about, well, you can take deer, you can take anything with a 22, and talk about the instances where this particular cartridge is stretched out beyond what it's really best for. And what it's really best for, and this is my opinion, is inside 50 yards, shooting at things like rabbits, shooting at things like squirrels, that kind of pest control. And because it's so cheap, because I can get, for less than 30 bucks, I can get 525 rounds. It's great for plinking and shooting at targets. So how does that fit into a survival style scenario? I've never really understood that. Is the fact that you can take this rifle down, make it more survivable? Well, I don't know. You really can't take it down into that much smaller space than I can take this one down. Is it something that you could use to kill large game? Not very effectively. Can you use a 5.56 223 to kill large game? Well, the answer to that is yes. People do it all the time. It's still not the best choice, but just asking you to consider when you look at the difference between the powder, when you look at the difference between the bullet, the ballistic shape of it or lack thereof with the 22, when we call that a survival rifle, I just don't quite understand that. I really don't. But you see that a lot. People like to use that term. It's not my term. And again, if this is all I had for survival, guys, oh man, you know it. I'd use this and I'd make the best out of it. Am I going to do a video where I shoot this? Probably not. I think everybody knows what a Ruger 10/22 is going to do. We'll see. But I love the concept. I love the fact that you can break it down. This in its backpack or a backpack of my choosing will very easily fit under my truck seat. It's easy to take along wherever you go. When you talk about survival, yes, if you needed to be able to shoot very small game in order to survive, then yes, you can use this as a survival rifle. But I certainly don't see that as its primary use. I see this as for target shooting. I see this as for squirrel and rabbit hunting, if that's your thing. And that's about it. This would be the last thing I grab in terms of a self-defense scenario. Whereas I'd be a lot more likely to grab something like that. But hey, to each their own. I'm not here to start a caliber war. To me, the most attractive thing about 22 long rifle anymore now is that you can get this round without paying an arm or a leg for it. And so it's cheap. You can have a lot of it on hand. You can shoot a lot of it. Anybody can shoot this rifle. And although I will say there's no recoil to be had, in my opinion, with an AR-15 style rifle shooting a 223/5.56 round. This one right here, you'd have to invent recoil because it just doesn't exist. It's a blowback operated mechanism, there just isn't enough going on here. I mean, for you older guys, if you remember ladyfingers for firecrackers, that's what this is. This is a ladyfinger. One of these guys is a black cat. And you get your 308s and your 30-06 and your full-size cartridges, and those are M80s. And that's how I'd rather compare these things. So just those are my thoughts when it comes to survival rifle. As I may have mentioned earlier, this thing really locks up tight. In fact, I would not know that this was a takedown were it not that I already knew it was a takedown. So they did a really good job of getting this right. I think it's nifty for portability and storability. Like I said, if you're somebody that, say for example, I wouldn't even call this a truck gun, but you want something with you. You see a critter at the side of the road that needs to be taken out for whatever reason. It's handy, and you don't have to do a lot. You want to take this with you camping without having to have a long gun case or fooling around with any of that. Again, you've got something that does that. But other than that cool kind of Mission Impossible, as I call it, kind of feature, what this really is Ruger 1022. It's one of the more reliable 22s out there. It's got the most accessorized of all of the 22s that are out there, which means if you're somebody that wants to get a lot of different things for these, threaded barrels, upgrades on triggers, upgrades on stocks, you name it, you can do it. And no rifle you can do that better with in the 22 class than with the Ruger 1022. So great little rifle. We're going to have to see whether or not this is something we'll do a shooting video with, but I think it's a 22, so what do you expect? Anyway, any updates on this, I'll be happy to pass along. If for whatever reason this rifle doesn't do what it's supposed to do, you're going to hear about it from me. So thanks again for watching, everybody. This is Dr. Drake 63. I want to remind you to support 2A organizations, pro 2A organizations, such as the National Rifle Association. That's who I support, and I do believe they have our backs, guys. Thanks again for your time. This is Dr. Drake 63 saying goodbye.